Hello there, people of the internet. So, this is a question I've gotten a couple of times. It was people asking, should I get an AR or an AK as my first rifle? There's a lot to unpack with this topic. So, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. I want to say AK, but I won't. It's going to be AR, but hear me out on this. It should be AK, but it's not. So with the AK-47, it fires the 7.62 by 39 if we're talking about traditional AKs. That's going to be a 123 grain bullet traveling at about 2,400 or so feet per second, depending on manufacturer and whatnot. That's capable out to about 400 yards before you start seeing significant drop off. Most people, especially if they're just getting their first gun, they're not going to be shooting out at that 400 yard mark. So the AK definitely has the power. That's a fairly decent bullet, especially for what most people would need that bullet to be able to do. I wouldn't take it big game hunting or something like that, but if you're getting an AR or an AK, odds are you're getting it for defensive purposes. So that's definitely an adequately sized bullet, and it's definitely adequate enough in distances that like 95% of the population is going to be shooting at. The AK will come with iron sights as well that are built right onto the gun. Typically, if you get yourself an AR, it's not going to come with iron sights, not unless you get one specifically that does come with iron sights. But the iron sights on the AR, those are typically put on by the user, and the users, especially if they're just getting their first rifle, are probably not going to get good sights for their AR. It's probably going to be something that's going to melt under high heats, or it's going to warp, or it's going to break whenever it's smacked around a little bit or something like that. It's just not going to be that good of an option. So the AK has iron sights already on it, ready to go. Most of your AKs are going to have a side mount right here, which you can stick like an adapter rail to where you can have a Picatinny rail over top of your dust cover. Yeah, we're going to call it a dust cover. Over top of your dust cover, and that will allow you to put a red dot or an optic on your AK in the event that you wanted to. Like, in the grand scheme of things, with the way that things should be, the AK should be the thing that most people go after, because it's a relatively light shooting cartridge, but it's got quite a bit of power behind it. It's definitely, absolutely, wholeheartedly available. You got good iron sights on your AK. You got a way to be able to mount optics if you want to. You can have 30 round magazines, 20 round magazines, 10 round magazines, 5 round magazines. You'd get yourself a 100 round drum if you want. There are plenty of accessories for the AK out there if you want to get yourself set up with some kind of kit or whatnot. They're just such a good universal rifle. Not only that, but with the AK, just with the way it's designed, it uses a piston system, and so it can go very, very long periods of time without needing any kind of maintenance or anything like that. Unlike something like the AR, where it's got this gas impingement system and it's got extremely tight tolerances, you have to clean and maintain your AR if you want it to stay reliable. AK, you don't need to worry about that. That being said, if you're, I don't know, in muddy trenches over in, the other side of the world, then the AK does have issues with mud getting into the action or gumming it up or anything like that. The tolerances on it are just too much, and it allows too much gunk to get inside of it. But if you're not worried about getting mud inside of your AK, or you just do something as simple as that right there to cover up this hole to really stop like 95% of the ingress from going in, then you shouldn't have any problems. The AR is just better at keeping things out, except for its gas system. So I will say that the AK, for most of your people here in the US who are not going to be dealing with any kind of warfare front, who don't necessarily want to worry about cleaning and maintaining their rifle, is just such a good option. But I cannot recommend it for being your first time gun. The downsides of the AK are oftentimes a result of the people that make the AKs here in the United States. If you get yourself an AK, I'm betting that you're probably going to get an AK, one of the ones that's on the market, from like $600 to $1,000. That's typically what most of your first-time AK buyers are going to go after. And if you look all over the AK, you're going to see these little dimples. Those right there are rivets, and those hold the guts of the AK in place. A lot of companies have trouble riveting these things properly, and those rivets are canted or squished or just not properly set up, and they have some significant issues that oftentimes lead to safety issues. This pin right here, that's the pin that holds in your front trunnion. Oftentimes those are cast, and the front trunnion is oftentimes cast. Because of that, the firing of the AK will actually cause that front trunnion, which is full of, well, whenever you cast metal, it's full of all sorts of imperfections, and that front trunnion will slowly start to expand over time to the point to where the barrel starts walking and your headspace is off. And that's just something that companies do because the AK works well enough for most people to buy it and be fine with it because they don't go out shooting their AK all that much. But it's to the point to where people that do shoot those AKs a bunch, like, you end up having some significant safety issues with the rifle. So just because of, like, needing to headspace your AK and do gunsmith work to make sure that the rivets are all in place, and if something's out of spec, you need, like, a machine shop to be able to fix it, I can't recommend people go with the AK as their first rifle, especially with the price point. What I would recommend is people going with the AR as their first rifle. And it sucks because I'm an AK guy, but I just know what to look for the AK. But there's just so many variables of things that could go wrong with an AK that, you know, your first-time gun owners probably aren't going to know to look for. So if you are going out debating on AR versus AK, I'd say go with the AR. Typically, 400 to 500 bucks will get you an entry-level AR that oftentimes, like, tend to be pretty gosh darn good. You're going to have easier mounting options. You're going to have oftentimes, unless you're getting like a retro build or something like that, Picatinny rails up here on the handguard or M-lock rails in the case of what I have right here. You can mount optics and you can mount sights. Make sure you get yourself good sights. You can mount, in this case, I got the flashlight, I got sling. This one has actually a Mosin sling. It's not correct for this rifle, but that's from a previous video of mine. These right here, they can be very easily adjusted. Most of your AKs aren't going to have an adjustable stock. They'll end up having like a folding stock for ease of storage and whatnot. There's just so much less to go wrong with the AR in comparison to the AK. And that has to do with the simplicity of how the AR is made. The AK, you need like a full-on machine shop, and everything has to be properly riveted and properly put in place, versus the AR, which you can literally take apart and put together with hand tools. On top of that, there are so many companies making so many ARs, it has become just a universal rifle here in the United States. To the point to where if you wanted any kind of parts for your AR, you could go out and get them. And the companies that are manufacturing ARs and parts for ARs have gotten so good at it, just from everybody manufacturing these to the same exact specifications for the most part. There might be differences in metals and whatnot, but they've gotten so good at it and kept the cost so low that it would just be, it would honestly be stupid not to choose the AR over the AK. This right here is about half the price of a half-decent AK, and the parts and availability for it are just, like, they cannot be matched. 223 can be found at basically any gun store versus 7.62x39, which is a little bit more difficult to find. And the AR is way more customizable unless you want to go and modernize your AK, but if you modernize your AK, you're basically turning it into an AR. So you got to kind of weigh your pros and cons. Now, there's a lot of features on ARs that a lot of people aren't going to use. Like, a lot of people won't fill up all of these M-lock rails and whatnot with accessories and whatnot. A lot of people would be fine with a flashlight. Hell, a lot of people don't even have flashlights on their ARs. A lot of people would be fine just with some kind of sighting system and a sling, but a lot of people don't even have slings on their ARs. These are all things that you can do to your AK pretty gosh darn easily. A simple handguard swap for something that's got M-lock rails on it could get you a flashlight on your AK. It's already got sling mounts, it's already got ways to mount optics and whatnot, unless you're getting like a cheapo Sentry Arms something or another that doesn't have the side mounting rail on it. And I got no idea why they don't include those. That can't cost very much to put on at all. But that's just one of those things where just little tiny things like that have to lean me towards recommending the AR. In the event that you don't want a 223 and you want something more powerful like the 7.62x39, get yourself an AR and 300 Blackout. 300 Blackout at time of recording this is approximately the same price as 7.62 by 39, except it comes in the very customizable, very hard to mess up AR platform. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. I recommend the AR over the AK, which really sucks because I absolutely love the AK. But there's just too much that can go wrong with it, and there's too many shortcuts that your modern American manufacturers take, especially with your cheaper end AKs. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.